Is it recording?
Not yet. Yes, yes, it is recording.
Excellent. All right, here we are on The Blind Man in Black. I'm here again with part 3 of my interview with Gustavo Esteva, deprofessionalized intellectual activist, author, advisor to the Zapatistas, many things, amazing things. And by the way, last time, I mean, it was funny, afterwards, the interview, we had a brief discussion, and you were upset with me for saying that I was honored to have you on the show. And I'm like, it's such a weird thing, because I feel like, I don't know what it is about me, but when I'm sincere, or maybe people don't think I'm sincere, I don't know what the fuck it is, but when when I say, like, I'm honored, or I remember having this conversation with this woman from I don't know, it was an Eastern European country, and I said in my email to her, I said something like, with my deepest respect. And she was so, like, skeptical about it when I met her in conversation. And she was like, what, I don't know how to believe, like, she didn't trust me. And I feel like this is a similar type of thing. Does it seem like I'm being insincere?
No, it is. No, it is because it does not compute, Brian. We are close friends. We are very close friends.
I know, but I feel like the reason I want to express my gratitude is because the truth of the matter is, you've been encouraging me for years to do something like this. You've been encouraging me to write, and this has been for like 8 years, and I'm finally getting to it now, and here we are. So anyway, in moving forward, the last 2 episodes, we had discussions about COVID-19, and I felt a little, it was awkward. Even after the interview last time, you said that was a peculiar conversation. And I always define peculiar to me as like, it sucks. But the thing is, what it is I couldn't wrap my head around. Okay, I get it. You're saying, and I'm with you, that we want to be as cautious and protect everybody as much as possible, without sacrificing our humanity. I get that, and our connection to other human beings. And it was funny because Rachel, my wife, she listened to the interview and she said, "Oh, I totally got what Gustavo was saying." And I'm like, am I a moron? Why am I not getting this? Like, I guess it was the contradiction of, you were saying, I believe in mask, and then you were talking about having a meeting at Una Tierra, and that everybody stood 3 meters apart. And I had to look that up, by the way. I didn't know what 3 meters was exactly as in feet. So it's almost 10 feet, and which is actually better than 6 feet, of course. But you said you took off your mask, and I couldn't get beyond that. And I was like, that's just kind of it's a small space, like, to take off mask. And I was like, all right, but I don't know. Like, tell me what doesn't that seem like a contradiction to some degree?
Yes, yes, and we were almost angry, Brian. That was the point. That we were, in fact, in very different positions. We were very concerned because you were seeing me in the same attitude as many people in the right now in your country, doing very stupid things, even violent things, to impose their desire to protect their individual rights, affected by the mask and affected by distancing, these stupid things. I consider my position is, in a very real sense, exactly the opposite. It is not about the individual rights affected by the recommendation of the mask, of the social distancing. I clearly acknowledge immediately, without any reservation, that we are before a real threat, and that we need to take care, because this is a real threat, and that we need to do something. But I radically disagree with what they are telling us to do. And one of the main points is this confinement, isolation, that you need to be alone in your house, in your home, and not to see anyone, and to see the others as a real threat to you. because they can bring to you a mortal disease, and to distance from them, and to use the mask to protect yourself and to protect the others. Well, this is not what I think we mustn't be doing. We need to do this together, not in abstract terms, not all the people on earth, not the humans, not the Americans, not the Mexicans. We, the real people, with our friends, with our neighbors, what to do. We need to intensify our relations, our connections with others, to discuss with others what to do. The most important point for me, again, Brian, is what we are doing to protect our loved ones, those in real danger, the vulnerable people, the old people. I can see immediately how the people in Tierra, when we are together and we are enjoying really our conversations again in presence, in real, in flesh, not virtual conversations. They are protecting me. They are protecting Nicole, because we are old and we need protection. We should be protected. And this is one of the central points, Brian. The most important point, because of the threat, take care of the vulnerable people. What COVID-19 make evident, and it is very evident, more evident in your country than in my country, is how we abandoned the old people.
I say that again. How we what?
How we abandoned the old people.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know. I mean, we have a horrible system
Horrible.
with leaving. You know, I mean, I hear it every day. You know, hearing of stories about older adults being left. You know, they don't see their families very often, and they're left in assisted living facilities where they're isolated and alone. And I I remember a story. When my dog was dying of congestive heart failure, and he was suffering and bleeding out of his nose, and he had to be put to sleep. And I remember the vet. He came out with this, the syringe of the lethal injection, and he said, "This is the way I want to go. I don't want to go dying and slowly and poop in my pants in some rest home." And I thought it was, it was an odd thing to say at the moment of, putting down my dog, but I get it. I get it. We have a system where we really don't take care of our older adults and our family members. We just kind of, abandon them in these assisted living facilities. But it says something about our system, capitalism. We are working so fucking much and exhausted all day. There's no way that we have that capacity to truly care for the people that we love, for, like, our grandparents and so on, and not love for, but love. And it's part of this system. It's designed to keep us, oppressed and exhausted, and that's what I am. I'm fucking exhausted, and I mean, things could be worse. I'm not, I have privilege. I get that, but it's horrible how we treat our older adults.
That is the real.
I just said, again, that's the other thing. Last time I went on this whole rant about saying how much I say, and how rusty I am at this. And immediately after, I kept saying, I don't know if you caught that. Next time you hear me say, I need you to stop me, because I got to get out of this. It's killing me.
we need to stop that kind of things. But first, about what you said, first, we really need to use COVID-19 as a great opportunity to reclaim, to recover the art of dying. We lost it. It is fundamental. The art of living should include the art of dying. And we lost that. We lost that long time ago in the modern society. We need to reclaim that. We need to learn from indigenous people that know that they are still having this art, and they are protecting it in this time with the virus. They are protecting the right to funeral, for example, to be with the loved ones, to take them to the tomb in the proper way, with the proper rituals, with the proper emotions. Well, we need to recover the art of dying. Of course, this is a very fundamental, and that includes how to deal with the old people. Of course, that is very, very, very important.
Could you talk a little bit about like what it means to you, uh, the idea of the art of dying? What is it in our culture? And this is something my wife talks about a lot, because this is her wheelhouse. But what in your mind, what is the art of dying?
One way of expressing it will be when you come to the conclusion that this is the moment of the time to go. And it is your will, your decision. It is not something that happened to you. It's not a disgrace. It's not something, it is that the time has come for me to go. And then I will say bye to my loved ones and live in peace, happy of leaving this planet after having lived it fully.
Hey, before we move on, do you need to get some water or anything, or are you your throat sounds a little hoarse? Do you want to get some water real quick or anything?
No, it's okay. It's okay. No problem. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure it wasn't hurting.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay,
And it is just
continue.
when I'm saying I will not go to the hospital if the virus visit my home. I want not to die tubed in a hospital. In any case,
I have to stop you because you said the virus. That was an interesting way you put it. The virus visits your home. It's almost like it's almost biblical, like the Passover. But so is there a reason you phrased it like that? Because it's an interesting way of phrasing it. It's like a friendly thing. The virus is a COVID-19 coronavirus. It's a good time. It'll visit your home and bring you a pizza. What was? Is there a reason you phrase it that way?
Well, one of the reasons is that one of the things that we are doing is to eliminate the mystery and the terrible threat of this virus. We are living every day with billions of virus. This is part of our life. This is part of any life. The virus should not be perceived as a terrible enemy, but it is part of your body, of your condition, of your very existence. And then
but it's also a side effect of climate change or climate crisis, because this virus, I mean, scientists have been saying for many years that as the climate changes, these type of viruses are going to be more prevalent. And not only that, I think in Russia, they found as the permafrost started to melt, viruses were coming up that had been buried, since the plague. So like anthrax was coming up, and somebody I think died of anthrax in Russia.
Yes, but I am no longer using the expression climate change or global warming or these kind of things, but we are in a real collapse. The climate we had died is no longer there, and we know nothing about the new climate. And we know nothing about what to do with the new viruses and bacteria and all the other elements. We don't know what to do with the rain or with the fires, as you know very well in California.
Yeah, I mean, the entire state is on fire right now.
Yeah.
Literally, the air, I mean, yesterday you could not see. I mean, I can't see anyway, but people tell me they couldn't see like 10 feet in front of them because the smoke was so bad. And my wife's, she's having trouble talking because of the smoke, and it's really horrible.
That is the collapse. And then we need to deal with the collapse. And then we
And
need.
and my friend, I mean, several friends of mine have lost. I know at least like 5 people or more. I mean, I haven't like counted, but I know at least 5 people that have lost their homes since early August.
Yes, yes, that is happening. And they are losing their homes and their lives. There are people dying because of this. And they are dying because of the fires in California and because of many other things created by the climate collapse. We destroyed our climate. But instead of continuing the attitude of seeing the climate as the enemy, the problem is nature. The problem is this foolish nature. And then I know I am the human, I am the father, I am the patriarch that know how to do things. We need to learn to have a different attitude.
Well, let me mention something because I think it's really important. Where I lived in Central California, which is basically east in the mountains in Fresno near Shaver Lake, and that's all been on fire recently. And when in 2014, 2015, 2016, I spent those 3 years removing trees that had died due to drought because of climate change. And I remember talking to professional tree fallers, and they said, this wouldn't be happening if we would have managed a forest, right? And at first I thought, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, the forest can manage itself. It doesn't fucking need us. And I didn't say that because they probably would have punched me in the face. But what I'm trying to get at is I remember, a little around that time, I was reading about how within the United States before colonization, many indigenous tribes used to manage the land. They used to cut trees, to build fire breaks, and they used to do all these different things, which I thought was interesting because
no, Brian. They will not doing any management of the trees or the forest.
well, no. I read this, and it was in a well-known. It was the Indigenous Peoples' History of the United States. That's what it was.
But you are colonizing history. You are applying your terms and your attitudes to the past.
No. I'm not doing that. I wouldn't have said that if I wouldn't have read. It was from an indigenous. The fact was that they managed the land. I mean, it's true to some degree how they did it, but they didn't. I'm not saying they managed it in the sense that like the U.S. Forestry Service manages land. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they lived in an equilibrium with their environment, and
because they knew how to have a dialogue with Mother
that's what I'm saying. But it's right.
That's different. That is not managing.
Right.
That is not real management.
No. But what I was saying is that I don't know. What I'm trying to say is there's a slight parallel, but it's a different type of ideology that's driving both things. But I'm just saying is like when human beings live in a forest, this natural kind of state is going to have forest fires from time to time to manage itself. And the soil becomes richer, the trees, that survive become stronger. And so, I mean, I'm not saying I know a lot about, I'm not an arborist. I don't know. I fucking know. I don't know anything, but I do know a little bit. And it seems like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm interrupting. Go ahead. You say what you're going to say.
No, it's basically, but this is.
My wife would be really upset right now because she says I'm not listening. Anyway, go ahead.
Here it is the point we are discussing. It's a different attitude. I can hear all the time in a campesino talking, going in the fields and saying, "Oh, this plant wants water," and then it is the dialogue. The plant tells something to the campesino, and the campesino knows how to hear the plants, how to hear the forest, how to know how to do. This is a permanent dialogue, a very rich dialogue. They are listening to each other. And that is the point. We need to listen to nature. We need to listen instead of having the capacity to destroy it as we have done time and again. Your country is a perfect example, having some of the best soils and water in the world. You have destroyed it at an impressive rate, and you continue doing that because you have the management of the land. You know how to do that. You know
And
better.
the Trump administration is selling off, public lands to corporations to exploit it even further, and it's horrific.
Because they know how to manage the earth.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
what we need to abandon. We need to recover the dialogue with the climate to discover what to do. And this is again pertinent to our discussion because we need to have a dialogue with the virus to know what to do instead of.
How do we talk to COVID-19? How do we have a nonviolent communication session with COVID-19?
Well, the first kind of thing is to be ready to host it without problem. By the way, most people on Earth are doing exactly that. As you know well, 80% of the people on Earth got the virus, may get the virus, and have no symptoms of anything. What is this? They are hosting the virus without any problem. They are hosts of the virus, and they live a happy life together without any problem for any of them, for the virus or for the people. Then we learn to do that. How we need to learn to do that, and how we learn to do that, we need to know what to do to be ready to host the virus without a problem. And for example, the main emphasis should be in eating, because eating, the right kind of eating, produce in your body the right kind of reaction to any kind of virus or bacteria. I don't like the word immune because it has a lot of implications, but it is just to have your immune system ready. That is what 80% of the people on Earth have. Then what we need to do is to be ready. And that means to adopt an attitude to say, we need to stop eating shit. That is what we are eating all the time. It's not just junk food, it's just the toxins that you can buy in the market. And that is a very radical change. That is a brilliant opportunity given by the virus to you to begin eating the right way.
Can you give that Eduardo Galeano quote?
Oh yes, it is really beautiful. He said in the best possible way, those who are not suffering of hunger are suffering of eating.
I mean, that's exactly a perfect, perfect statement. The reason being is, even when I eat, and I have to eat packaged foods because, I'm not self-sufficient when it comes to, food. And I would love to, have food sovereignty within where I live, but it doesn't exist. There's a lot of farms, but those farms sell to expensive restaurants in San Francisco and, the Bay Area. And, even when I eat something that's packaged, I'm always like, is this, what the hell's in this? You know what I mean? I always have this skepticism every time I start unwrapping something. I'm like, like, where the hell has this been?
Yes, it is horrible. It is horrible. It is toxic. You are eating toxins. You are destroying yourself every day with eating that kind of shit. Yes, that is the point. And then this is the opportunity to do something else, to produce your own food, to have arrangements with your friends, to have a change with the rural producers, to have a decent change of different kind of things. This is the opportunity. This is what we need to do. This is to prepare ourselves to host the virus. This is the best thing to do something about the virus is not to isolate yourself, but to have a different relations with nature and with the others. And you said something that is very, very important, Brian. When you said something that you are exhausted and you have all the people around is discontent. They are not happy with the situation. They are not happy with what's happening. They are not happy with their jobs and with the conditions and with their salaries and with unemployment, with all this. But Brian, here is a contradiction. You have enough of it, but at the same time you are celebrating it. You are blindly tied, religiously tied to capital. Capital is religion. Capital is what you need to have. Capitalism is the regime, the best regime. Fukuyama said in the 90s, you cannot even conceive nothing better than the marriage between capitalism and liberal democracy. And what you have now is capitalism and liberal democracy, and you know very well what kind of shit you have.
That's shit. That's a good way of putting it.
Instead of
or as George Carlin said, it's all bullshit and it's bad for you.
Yes. Then if you know that instead of reacting and say we need to create something else, and this something else is not socialism or communism, it's just decent way of life. It's just a decent way of life. That is it. That is the whole thing.
You know, my wife and I were trying to salvage our date night yesterday, but it didn't happen. And we, you know, part of our date night, we sometimes ask each other questions. And so, you know, we just go back and forth with questions. So she asked me the question, what is it the one thing that people would be, something that you believe in that people would be upset about? And I said, it's, you know, from my perspective, I said, you know, again. Okay. So I said, she said, okay. Yeah. So she asked me that question. What is the one thing that people would be upset about, you know, that you believe in? And I said, it was my anti-capitalism stance. And it's a hard thing to, you know, it's a hard thing to do, to have living in this country is being anti-capitalist, because it is a religion. It's and I feel like it's so hard. You know, there it is again. What was it? You sent me an article by, was it John Berger? It was the prisoners. What was it called? Global prisoners?
Yes, perhaps, yes.
Yeah, and it was talking about how, by the way, if you can find the article, it's on Guernica, that magazine. It's an online, it's a great article by John Berger about how this system basically is kind of a, you know, it's a soft prison that we, you know, it's so difficult to escape from. And not only is it difficult to escape from, I think the comforts of it, you know, people, even if they don't believe in it, they don't want to lose those comforts. And I mean, I can feel that within myself. I'm like, fuck, you know, I don't know, being blind and deaf is difficult. And then the idea of possibly, you know, losing just those simple comforts are as air conditioning or whatever.
It is so easy to abandon those supposed comforts that are killing you. I have, in one of our conversations in the group, there was a young woman that said the other day, a few weeks ago, I don't remember if I mentioned this last time, she said at the beginning of the COVID confinement, I was really in a lot of anxiety because my salary was not enough to buy all the things that I needed. I was really concerned. And then now, 4 months later, I discovered that I have more than enough. My salary is more than enough, because I discovered the many things that I don't need, I am buying. This is a fundamental point, really important, Brian. What we consider our needs, our desires, what we need to survive, those little comforts that you mentioned have been shaped by them to shape us in a certain way, to shape us in full dependency of them, to desire our chains, to love our prison. That is the problem. The first thing that we need to do is to define what we really need and to discover. One way of doing that is we change the use of nouns. We talked about this long time ago for verbs. If we are defined by education and health and food, we need education, health, food. If we say that way, we have an immediate dependence of the market or the state, that they will provide us the services of education, health, food. If we talk about eating, healing, learning, we recover our agency. We are the ones that eat and learn and heal, not them. We have no dependency. And then we need to find the conditions for eating and learning in freedom and healing in freedom, with our own resources, with our own capacities, in interaction with our friends, with our loved ones. That is the change. That is what we can do, what we need to do now, Brian. This is the moment to produce that specific change. Let's redefine what we really need. Yes, perhaps in some areas of the world, like the area in which you live, perhaps air conditioning is a real need, is a real comfort. That parts of the year is not the best to live with the heat you have. We can consider that. I am not struggling, I have not a position, a dogma against air conditioning. But that's not the problem.
You're not going on a campaign, an anti-air conditioning campaign?
No.
Okay, just checking. Yeah, I guess, there sometimes, there it is again. I said it again. Okay, so I got to break out of this. It's just a simple broadcasting thing. It's really aggravating. I got to break out of it. So I got to stop it. Can't say anymore. Help me, Jesus. Okay. So what it is I find it's really weird. It's like a tick. It's like a verbal tick. What it is finding how, like for me, I have disabilities, like my disability is blindness, and I have hearing loss, which requires hearing devices, and those hearing devices are manufactured by a corporation, and I think it's owned by some kind of conglomerate that owns many other companies, and I need these in order for it to function. To be able to hear you right now, I need those devices. And so it requires that supply chain, that capitalist supply chain, in order to get them. And there is a lot of people in my position that have disabilities that if they didn't have these, like for instance, those that use power wheelchairs or, whatever it may be, that they need a life-sustaining medical device, it requires that supply chain in order to, which is a global supply chain, which becomes lithium batteries, components, all these things. Is like, how do we make the transition of going where we are autonomous, we're growing our own food, we're making our own clothes, we're building our own homes. How do we make that transition and bring people with disabilities like myself along? Because I don't know how I fit into this. I don't know how. I mean, I have farmed, I've done it, but I've lost a lot of eyesight since I last had done it.
Brian,
and
do you really think that my position implies coming back to the Stone Age?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to, I think what I'm getting at is those that are listening, there are some people that are saying exactly, they may be hearing that, and that's why I'm mentioning it.
Because what I can say immediately is putting those things just for the transition at the very margin of your life. Meaning, My perfect example is, of course, the Zapatistas. They produce their own food. They don't have any money from the government. They have their own system of learning, their own system of healing. They are basically self-sufficient, but they are selling coffee and many other things to buy some things in the capitalist market because they want a few computers and they want the community radios. And for the community radios, they need equipment. For them, it is very important to have these community radios. They are talking to each other through the radios. And for this, they need equipment, and they need the radios, and they need the sets, etc. Well, that means, but the life is not hanging on that. You can live without your basic things for the here and for the other things a few days, but you cannot live without food. You cannot live without eating. That is the point. The central point is that the whole thing of capitalism is social relations. What kind of social relations you have every day? That is what we need to change. We need to abandon a world, a society in which all the social relations are economic and depend on an economy. And you are seeing every other person with an economic eye. And the social relations in capitalism is that kind of social relations in which you are exploited, oppressed, subordinated. That is the kind of things that we need to change. And of course, in this process, we will need some things from the system. For example, we are building in Oaxaca, in this very poor area, we are building our own telephone system, independent, autonomous. But still we have dependencies of the world phone system. Yes, that is the telephone system. We cannot produce by ourselves the telephone system, but our life is not hanging off the telephone.
And my understanding is Telcel, is that still owned by Carlos Slim?
Yes.
Yeah.
Telcel and Telmex, yes. That means that we can still have, but it is what we need to do is to put this in the margin of our lives. One of the most important things that we need to do today, for example, is to reduce the dose of our use of the telephone, the computer, all these tools, all these elements that are contaminating our life. The way the people all over the world are consuming electronic elements is very pathological.
Yeah, and the built-in obsolescence is horrific. I remember watching. I don't know if you remember the show from the '70s. It was called All in the Family, and it featured the racist character Archie Bunker. But in the scene, Archie's talking to his son, whom he calls Meathead, played by Carl Reiner, and Meathead's trying to fix something on the refrigerator. And he I don't know, he fucked something up. And then Archie goes, "What are you doing? That refrigerator is only 20 years old. They don't make anything today that lasts 20 years old."
That is the point. Yes, that is right. That is right. That is clear description of what is happening. The problem for me is that you love that system. That is
I don't love it. I despise it. I fucking hate it. I can't tell you how the contradiction of me, who wants to just be. I loved farming. I loved it. I loved every aspect of it. The feeling of interconnectedness with the body and the soil, and the connectedness of just having these loving, compassionate conversations. I love that. The problem is I'm fucking blind, and I got to work in order to pay the bills and do all this. I mean, I you know what I mean? It is what it is. And Rachel hates that saying, but it
it is, Brian. I am not saying that everybody should become a farmer, but I am saying that everybody, including blind people, should do something in the connection with the plants, and should try to do something, cultivating something. trying to have a connection with the plants that is not just eating them.
Mm.
Yes, that I think we can discuss how you can do something about cultivating at home with your blindness. That can be a fascinating conversation. But what I'm seeing, yes, every person on earth should recover the connection with the plants, the connection with nature, the connection with Mother Earth, to have a different kind of relation, a different kind of dialogue. We are not the center. We are part of the creation. We are part of the cosmos, and then we need to interact with all the other living beings and non-living beings in a different way. Instead of destroying them, we need to talk with them and to have a different relation with them. Yes, that is the kind of changes that we need to do today. And then to reduce our dependency, to reduce our consumption of such amount of stupid things. Please consider the amount of time consumed today by the people in your country, in your community, plugged into these things, virtual communication. Yes, we are using it, Brian, but not all the time. My life is not plugged into a computer. My life is not reduced to interaction with a computer, with virtual interaction or these kind of things. We are resisting that. We can use it, but put that in our margin. We will not allow that to define our lives. That is the point.
I want to add something because you and I have discussed this before, because I remember I was trying to write an article in 2015, and it was the time when the Academy of Sciences released I guess it was a paper that was signed by Nobel laureates. They basically condoned it and said this is accurate science. And the whole thing was the whole idea of this Academy of Sciences report was to say that genetically modified foods were healthy, they didn't cause any problems, and so on and so on and so on. And then when I looked into every one of these researchers that worked on this paper, they had all had ties to biotech companies like Monsanto and DuPont chemical companies, that produces the pesticides and all these fucking things. And I was like, I'm an idiot. Why am I having to do this research and see the connection, the conflict of interest of these assholes that are advocating and saying genetically modified foods are great. By the way, I don't want you to know this, but I'm getting paid by the same companies that, are selling this shit.
And that is another element of your fundamental beliefs. That is part of your religion, science. You believe in science and you believe in these stupid, corrupt scientists. That is one of your problems. That kind of belief.
Why you keep saying me? It's not me. Is it because I'm American?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because that is the context.
So there's no escaping the American way?
Yes, you are escaping. You are courageously escaping, trying your best to escape from that American way. And you are sharing with me the problems you have because you are expressing convictions that are against the fundamental beliefs of people around you. You are challenging those fundamental beliefs, and then you need to learn how to respect them and to learn how to talk with a believer that is a fundamental believer in something, and trying to invite him in a very gentle way to see something different. It's not try to convince them of anything. It's just to invite them, come with me and sit through this little window to a different landscape. And then they can see, people are not stupid. They can see the different landscape. People can see immediately what is to be healing instead of being dependent of the health system.
Well, I mean, there is an issue though. And the issue is that people have worldviews that they hold on to so tightly and defend so strongly that even if it is harmful or flawed or whatever it is doing to us, those world beliefs. And I'm always questioning mine because I don't want my worldviews to harm other human beings. And so, but people have such strong, you know, it's like the political thing. People love being tied to their fucking sports team.
I know very, very, very well. For the last almost 60 years, since the time I abandoned the idea of education and the school because of my daughter, since I started to struggle against that, I know the idea of education and school is a fundamental belief of most people. And I cannot talk with them against the school. All of them can immediately acknowledge the horrors of the school. They can tell many stories about their own suffering in the school and the suffering of their children in the school. But that does not mean to abandon the idea of the school. And they are still sending their children to the school. And they are still defending the institution, the school. I know that. I cannot tell my position about the school to most people on earth.
Yeah, and the other thing schools are being used for is daycare centers because the parents have to work. Both parents have to work 8 hours a day.
Yes, yes. And then that because that is the case, I don't talk against the school in public. Because I know it is, I will have terrible reactions, or they will not hear me. They will not. We will not continue the conversation because they will close their minds. But Brian, the very moment we talk about learning in freedom, learning opportunities, they can immediately open their eyes. And right now, we are enjoying a lot in Unitierra, really enjoying, because of the virus, because people are seeing, because they are at home, not going to work, because they are confined, because they are seeing the horror of the school when they see their children plugged into the TV or the computer. They are ready to listen whenever we talk about the freedom to learn. And I can tell you beautiful stories and how the people, the children, are recovering the art of learning at home. And
Could you give an example?
yes, yes, there was just a group of indigenous people, Amuzgos, that know how they weave magnificent things. And suddenly the mother discovered that her daughter, a 9 years old daughter, did not know how to weave. It was a kind of crime in that village. How that child did not know how to weave, and she did not know because of the school, and because she's now at home, she's learning with her mother how to weave, and they do really magnificent. They are famous because the kind of things that they produce with that very fine style of weaving.
So what you're saying is this child was going to a school.
Yes.
Was it outside of the village or was it
In
within?
the village. It's just going to the school in the village.
And she was not learning to read, and yet when COVID-19 happened, she was able to stay home, and her
Weave,
mother taught her how to read.
weave, not read, weave,
Oh,
weave,
weave.
weave,
Oh, weave. Okay.
not
Well,
read.
that clarifies. One of my hearing devices just went out, so I'm not hearing things as well. Sorry about that.
Well, that is the point. Weaving.
Right.
Yes, and then they are really famous for the kind of things that they weave. And this is just, I can give you many examples of that kind, when the children are suddenly back at home and then learning things at home in freedom, that are really fantastic, that are really good for the life. And then we discover together what we really need to learn, and what is what we want to learn, and how we can learn whatever we want to learn and we need to learn, instead of the curriculum imposed in the school, instead of this lesson of geography of things that we will never use in our lives.
Yeah, yeah. And getting that Pavlovian response, you know, the idea of the bells was to instill obedience in students, was to, once they hear that bell, they got to jump and move. And
yes.
I still have that Pavlovian response when I hear a bell. I'm like, oh shit, I got to be somewhere.
Yes, and you have that discussion in the US today because you know Mrs. DeVos and Mr. Trump are against the schools and against you. You have the whole thing, the whole system up there is against the system of education because they are no longer in need of the schools to impose disciplines on the people, to shape the people. They can shape the people in different ways. And then to use the educational system is too expensive for that purpose. And then they want to destroy the educational system. They are already destroying the universities, and they want to also destroy the rest of the educational system. That is magnificent, Brian. Let's
Well,
create the real option for that.
well, I mean, that's a good point about the university system, because what happened was, and you remember, in the, you know, before the 1970s, education, especially college education, was relatively inexpensive. And then when the 60s came around and students started rebelling and resisting and protesting, the wealthy elites started saying, how can we get these young people to stop questioning capitalism? How can we do this? Oh, they thought, you know, the best way to do it is to burden them with so much educational debt that all they can do is think about paying off the fucking student loans. And that's what they did. They got students, you know, they got, like, the students can't resist anymore or protest because they're like, fuck, I got to pay off the student loan. I got to get a job and go to school. And it's, you know, it basically wears people down so they can't fight anymore.
Well, the question is perhaps what you describe is real in the sense that the treat of the educational debt is one way of trapping you forever.
Mm-hmm.
Because to pay the debt, you need a job, and then you need a job, and you need to be dependent, subordinated to them for the rest of your life. Then yes, that is a very old discussion in the US. It's a very intense discussion about this.
Do you
But
like the term neo-feudalism?
not really.
You don't think that describes what we're living in?
No,
Kind
no, because feudalism was a lot better than what you have.
of. Wasn't the illusion more ridiculous though?
No, look,
The king was the, you know,
you have
divine.
they had the illusions, yes, that is right. But you have in the group of campesinos in the villages a lot of freedom, and the people were doing whatever they wanted to do and producing their own life in their own way. And the feudal lord was respecting that. He imposed a tribute and he imposed many horrible rules, but the people were basically in freedom, the kind of freedom that you don't have.
Yeah.
That is the problem, and that is what we need to discuss. And it is not the difference with your current rightist movements. It's they are looking for the individual freedom, and we are
What
looking
about the
for
term neo-fascism? Do you think that's suitable?
that is useful because fascism is an historical condition, something that happened in the 30s.
But isn't fascism, in a sense, the definition of it is the merging of corporate entities with the state?
It has many more things, but anyway, it is okay. It is okay to say that there are many elements of fascism that are used today. For example, one element of fascism used today is the combination of your personal interest and patriotic interest. They're using nationalism, a new kind of stupid nationalism, to impose.
Make America great again?
Yes, yes, that is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is this patriotic spirit that it's an appeal to many Americans. I don't know why they are. They can they use all these flags in the front of their houses, and this devotion, it is very
Well,
strange.
you know, George Carlin had a great bit where he said flags are symbols and symbols are for the simple-minded,
Yes,
making a joke about simple-minded.
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. That's the point. Brian, again, our time is over. We need
Huh.
to bring this to a certain conclusion.
Well, can we just talk about one thing? Do you have like 5 minutes?
Yes, 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 of course. No
Okay.
problem.
One thing, you know, that I'm fascinated with, and I said, you know, again, I don't know what I'm having some kind of mental, I don't know what this is. You know what it is? It's partially this thing where I'm working so hard to be a kind and compassionate, loving human being. And I'm trying to make my words and my thoughts line up in a way that my actions are kind, loving, and compassionate. And I have so much anger and so much rage and so much frustration, and you know, there it is, the tick again. Is this? I'm censoring myself to some degree. Like I have this like firewall between my emotions and my thoughts that is almost making me stutter. And that's what the you know thing is. It's like a stutter. It's like I'm like censor you know, censor you know, and I'm like doing that, and it's problematic. And it's developed over the last I don't know how many years. But the point is I'm censoring myself, I'm censoring my anger, I'm censoring all this shit. And I know that you have a way of dealing with that because, you know, I know you have a way of dealing with it.
Yes, the
And
question is that you need to be kind, to be gentle, Brian. You need to be anger. You need to have angry. You cannot have a decent state of mind without anger in the current conditions of the world. And I would say that in any conditions of the world, there are sources, there are things happening that produce anger.
well,
And
what I'm saying is that we live in this country, it's a very violent culture, right?
yes,
And our words are a reflection of that violence. And you know, it's that kind of arrogant, you know, entitled, I'm going to say things like they are bullshit. I'm telling it like it is. It's that Trump, like, I'm going to say whatever fucking comes to my mind, and I'm going to hurt people, and I don't give a shit. If you feel bad, it's your fucking problem. That's what people
that is,
do.
that is the difference. You care for the other person.
I do, but
And then you
that
can express yourself and then apologize. Sorry, guy. I express myself. I am feeling like that. Sorry if I offended you, but that is how I feel. Then you are not addressing the other person as the destiny of your anger.
Well, what I'm saying is part of this, what I feel like the journey that I'm trying to go on is to be a more compassionate, kind, loving person in my words, in my actions, and do that. And I feel like that's a part of the transformation we need as a society to break out of this violent culture, but
And
not
you,
only violence within our actions, but violence within the words we use, because our words are very violent. And that's why I really try, although Rachel would say, when we get into an argument, she says, are you using nonviolent communication? And I'm like, no, I'm not fucking using nonviolent communication because you know, it's hard. I think it's something that is a part of our American culture, is this violence, this innate DNA uh, hidden need to um, externalize anger. And I don't know. The reason I'm bringing it up is because see, I can feel myself censoring. I'm challenged by this thing of how do I be loving and compassionate in the things I say, but also be truthful about how I'm feeling, because I'm really fucking angry pretty much all the time. The only thing is I'm internalizing it, and I can feel it poisoning me. I can feel it. I can feel it poisoning me. I can feel like, you hear what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, and you know the story. For a a complex set of reasons, I created a way of being that was never expressing anger in any possible way, and never expressing my real feelings of any form of antagonism. And then I got hepatitis, and then my healer told me that is the problem. Your liver is telling you enough. You can no longer repress your feelings. What you need to do today is to express your anger whenever you have it. And then I began to do that. And because I was learning this at a very old age, I did not know how to do that in a very decent way.
How long ago was this?
Just a few years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And then I started to express my anger in a certain violent way, not really knowing how to express it in a decent way, in a soft way.
You mean,
Yes,
were you like flipping tables and that type of thing?
yes, of course, Brian. Yes, that is. And then, but I was ready to offer immediate apologies. Sorry, this is medical prescription. This is what I need to do to take care of my liver. And then created the opportunity to process the anger together. That is the option for a gentle interaction, for nonviolent communication. You express your anger and then you create the conditions to process together the anger you expressed.
But, I can't stop saying it. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but don't you have to repair the damage once you release that anger?
Sometimes you can do that immediately. In the past, what you can do immediately is go and embrace your friend when you expressed your anger. And sorry, Brian, and embrace him and tell him, I did not want to offend you, but I need to express my anger, and I am very angry because of this or that. And then you embrace the other person and you repair the damage you have done, because then you are telling him or her, this is not against you, this is not, I am fighting with you, I am just expressing the anger I feel because of this world. And
But
if the
don't
anger is with the other person, you can also use that procedure. Even if you are angry with him or her because of what they did, then you express your anger and you can go and embrace them and tell them, but I love you a lot. Yes, I was angry because of this or that, but I love you a lot. And then you repair that immediately in a
now
gentle, compassionate way.
now I have enormous guilt when I get upset at someone and I feel like, God, what the fuck? I'm ruining this relationship. I'm ruining this because of my anger. And I think the difference, what I hear you saying, or not saying, but I feel like you're not afraid of loss. You're not afraid of loss. You're not afraid of pain. And I'm terrified of loss and pain. Is that an accurate description that you're not as concerned
Not,
about loss and pain as I am?
necessarily. I am, of course, I don't want to produce loss or pain. Of course, I can try to do whatever is needed to repair, to correct, to address the problems I can create with my behavior, and I can suffer the loss a lot when I produce a loss. Yes, no, I am not because I am indifferent to loss or pain. It is because I think we can correct that in the relations itself.
But what I'm seeing is you don't have the fear of it as much. You're not concerned because, you have a calmness and a, and I think it goes back to the trust issue that I have. I have trust issues,
It is
and
the
you openly, you welcome loss and pain to some degree by allowing people in because of the benefit, right?
yeah, but if you can imagine, if I am telling you that Nicole and I have been together for 50 years, we have had terrible conflicts and we have hurt each other many times, but we have known very well how to deal with that. And we were really, really suffering the danger of loss and the pain we created in the other person for any kind of behavior of our words or our feats, or what we were doing, whatever. But that means if we are together and loving each other and more every day, and we sleep every day with our hands together, that means that we have been able to address the pain, the anger we created to each other through love and kindness and consideration and asking
Forgiveness.
for forgiveness. Yes, of course. We don't have any problem in asking for forgiveness from the other person when we did something wrong. That is a fundamental point. Sometimes people are so proud that they don't dare to ask for forgiveness. They think that forgiveness, it's a kind of humiliation that they don't accept. No, 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 it's not humiliation. It is the supreme expression of really control of yourself.
And love.
And love.
It's an expression of love, yeah.
Of love, of course, of course.
Yeah. All right, I know you have to go. Thank you once again, my dear friend, for being here. I'm not gonna say I'm honored, because that upsets you. But is there anything you'd like to share in terms of how listeners can find you? You have your book they can purchase, Escaping Education.
Grassroots postmodernism, and I have they can find my name, and there are many videos, many materials about me in the internet.
Yes,
with
that's what I was looking. I was, when I started the podcast and uploading and all that, I was searching for our podcast, and I found many different podcasts with your name attached to it. So you can find Gustavo Esteva anywhere on the internet.
Yes, there are many things.
All right.
Hopefully we will be able to continue these conversations at one time or the other.
Yes, let's continue it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This is The Blind Man in Black. You can find me at blindmaninblack.com. And yeah, and once again, I apologize for my I'm working on it. It's like a journey. I'm probably going to have to, there it is again. See, it is a verbal fucking tick. I got to get rid of it. All right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy this. Enjoy the apocalypse. I don't know what to say.
Bye.
Oops. Is it stop recording?
No.
Oh, that's weird. Let me try it again. Sorry, everybody. Okay, hold on. It's giving me a message. So it's awkward. Hold on one moment. See, I'm using a screen reader, and I need to turn it on because I turned it off so I wouldn't get notifications. But let me get it. Are you there?
Yes, and it is still recording.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Something happened here. All right. Let me. All right. This should stop. Odd. It keeps, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Hold on one moment. Oh, no. Okay. Let me see what's going on here. Sorry, everybody. Did it stop?
No, it moves, but it does not stop.
Huh. That's odd. I haven't had this happen before.